Ageless Beauty, Secrets from the Masters. Ageless Beauty breaks through the stereotype that life is over after 40. Join me and learn from our masters as they share their secrets to living a long, healthy, radiant, and vibrant life. This episode of Ageless Beauty is sponsored by DJ Taz, musician and composer. DJ Taz gives you a high vibrational energy to any room instantly by mixing the beats and rhythms of love, ancient new world, kirtan, devotional, and cosmic sounds. Taz will be giving you a copy of his album, Awakening Truth. This music is great for listening, working, and for new inspiration. For more information about Taz, please visit his website at www.djtazrashid.com. Welcome back to our Women's Online Summit, Ageless Beauty Secrets from the Masters. And today I am honored to have with me Frankie Picasso. Frankie is an international socialpreneur, talk show host, and champion for change who has been transforming lives and influencing culture for the past 30 years. Frankie's book, Midlife Mojo, won her the title of 50 Great Writers You Should Be Reading in 2015. Today's topic is how to find your mojo. So welcome, Frankie. It's so great to have you as one of our masters for our summit.
Thank you, Cindy. It's so great to be here. And I'll just show you, this is what it looks like, Midlife Mojo. So if you see that out there.
Okay. I love the cover. That is awesome. So tell me a little bit about how you came to write your book, because I love the title.
Well, I was stuck in midlife. No, I actually had a serious motorcycle accident, and the universe stopped me. And I was in a hospital for 6 months, and I lost everything. I lost my job, my marriage, I was a drummer in a band. The band left. I was on the international dragon boat team. I was just about to go to Shanghai, didn't get to do that. So everything that was important to me, and then my dog died. So everything that I had was gone except for my kids. And for those 6 months, I went through that, what they call the dark night of the soul. And when I emerged and I realized, I need to do something with my life, I took up coaching. And as a result of that, I wrote this book called Midlife Mojo, because it's really a prescription for change. And it explains what the midlife crisis is and how to get through that and emerge as your true self. Because I think what happened was I realized I had become the person I was supposed to be and oftentimes through trauma. Change happens best in chaos. And so that's how it happened for me and for a lot of people that I meet.
Yeah, definitely. So, you were going through this challenge for the 6 months to come out of that.
Yes.
What are some techniques or tips that you can give folks if they're in that right now and they're feeling a little down?
That's another story. But actually, if one of the big lessons I had learned was about commitment versus trying, and really about negative self-thought, because the negative doubts have a really big impact and could have held back my recovery. And I actually looked around the hospital, because I was in a rehab hospital for 6 months, and I looked around the hospital. How come this person isn't getting better? And how come this person goes to treatment? And how come this person's positive and this person's negative? And I started to wonder about it all. And what did it mean? And does it matter if your parents are positive or negative? Or what's that impact on you and your recovery? Well, it's about our belief system. So I started to question, what is it that I believe? And I've always believed that anything is possible. And I got that from my dad. And so that's one way I became the unstoppable Frankie Picasso, but that's another story. But when I was at my rehab, and I broke a lot of things. I broke, both femurs, hip, pelvis, everything. And what the physiotherapist said, I want you to move your leg. And I'm like, I'm trying. He goes, no, move your leg. I'm like, trying. He goes, no, you're not. I go, yeah, I am. And I was like crying, and he goes, move it. And I'm like, I'm trying. And it didn't move. And I was so scared. I thought, oh my gosh, if it doesn't move, I'll never walk again. I have to move it. And I'm like, move, 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 move. And finally, it just moved just a tiny little bit. And that realization came to me, the difference between a commitment and trying, and how I was committed to not moving my leg for a while because I knew it was going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. And so we're a lot like all of us have what's termed underlying automatic commitments. You can't try to do something. Trying is lying. You know, if I try to drop this pen, either I drop it or I don't drop it. I can't try to drop it, right? You can't. So trying gives you that back door. It's like dipping your toe in the water. Go, maybe I'll go in, maybe I won't. I don't know. But commitment is a vow to yourself saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all the way. And so that's one of the ways that you change your life. And that's one of the ways that you can get out of, negative things that are happening to you, is hear your thoughts. You got to listen to your thoughts. What are they telling you? Ask that thought, do I believe this? And then challenge yourself and say, what is it that I really, really want? And make that your goal. And we'll talk about that next.
Okay. All right. I like that. I like that a lot. A long time ago, I went to a seminar. It was actually way back in the 90s. And that was actually one of the little exercises that they gave us is they had someone stand up and they dropped a pen on the floor. And they said, okay, try to pick up the pen. Well, of course, they picked up the pen and they're like, no, try. And it took us all like a while to understand, well, yeah, she's picking up the pen. They're like, no, try. And then finally everybody got it. Oh, yeah. So, she was trying, but she couldn't pick it up. And it's that mental state, that mindset that you have.
Yes.
And so just that word, try. I love that. Trying is lying. I've never heard that before, but it's so true. We have then convinced ourselves that we're not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. As a matter of fact, like your kids call you on the phone, hey, can you pick me up, a chocolate bar? Can you get me this? And your parents go, I'll try. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it when they say, I'll try. Okay, I'll do it. I'm going to get it for you. But I'll try means don't expect it.
Yeah. That's so true. So listening to yourself, listening to your thoughts, and then asking yourself, do you believe these or not?
Right. Because oftentimes there's a voice that goes along with that thought, right? You can hear the intonation and it's not your voice. It's somebody else's, somebody close to you. And at first you might not hear it, because you're so used to hearing it. And then you say, wait a minute, let me hear that again. Oh, that's my mom or my dad or my grandparent or a teacher or, a brother, somebody else's voice that got imprinted into your subconscious that tells you what you believe. How crazy is that? It's not even you. And it was there for so long that you didn't even know that you could challenge it. Right. So, and there's a lot of those voices in our head. Some people call it the inner game. I call it members of the board. And I have a few of them. The saboteur is there. The one that stops you from doing the things that you really, really want, or so you think, right? Again, if the things that you want in your life aren't showing up, then you have a commitment to a different outcome than what your conscious mind is saying. And 80% of your subconscious rules the road. So it doesn't matter what your conscious mind is saying. It's what your subconscious mind is thinking.
Yeah. So true.
That's a hard drive.
Yeah, exactly. So I like to call midlife and thereafter, especially for women, their second prime.
Yeah.
Prime, and then you got your second prime. And a lot of times when you start moving into that second prime, so to speak, whether it's 40 or 45, maybe 50, somewhere in that area, it seems like so many women, their purpose changes, right? We were mothers. We had to take care of kids. And now they're all grown and they've got their own life and, other things that have possibly happened in your life as well, even career-wise, your profession. And so if you're in that place where maybe you've got a job that you feel that it no longer serves you, or the empty nest syndrome has fallen upon you. What suggestions would you give for someone that's now trying to find a new purpose,
Okay.
something new for them, and they're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, I'm just kind of drifting and just not really going anywhere, just going with the flow, and I'm really not contributing.
I love that question because it's what the whole book is really about. So questions is what coaches do best, and that's what we encourage everybody to do, is ask yourself questions. The book is called Midlife Mojo, and let's first say what Mojo is, because Mojo is the word that comes from the Congolese, and it's means life force. So it's about your life force. And oftentimes when you're going through the midlife crisis, your life force feels dim or diminished. And what we want to do is get that light shining really bright again. And I also say that it's less of a crisis and more of a metamorphosis. It's an awakening. This stage is an awakening to our true self. So in order to find out who our true self is, we almost have to go back to our youth and go, what was it that I really wanted to be when I grew up? What was it? Before I got socialized, before everybody said you can't do that, or you have to be this, or you have to be that. What was it that really, really, you loved, and what are your talents like? Because a lot of that is where you're going to go in this next stage of your life. So, and if you can't remember, that's okay. Start asking yourself questions. These are some great questions to ask. If I had a magic wand and I could change whatever, would I stay in the same relationship that I'm in now? Would I live in the same city? Would I live in the same house? Would I have the same friends? Start asking yourself these kinds of questions. And I say in the book that, Shakespeare had said, all the world's a stage. And if you feel like you got the wrong part, ask the director for a new part. Just go take the new part. Why not? It's yours to take. You can change anything that you want. People say, Frankie, how do I change my life? You change it with a thought. That is how easy you change your life. So, but fear often stops us from doing that, right? So if you find yourself single again, or if you find yourself an empty nester and you're not feeling fulfilled, and that's one of the signs that midlife is about you. And another one is that you have this desire to help other people, to really look forward, because you realize that, maybe you've got 20, 30, if you're lucky, 40 years to live forward, and you look back and you go, yeah, I want something different. Now I got to satisfy me. I satisfied everybody else, and now it's my turn. Now I got to satisfy my soul. And so I said, go back and look at what you loved. I was 9 years old. I sent away for Institute of Broadcasting Records. I had forgotten about that, totally forgotten about it. Till one of my students said, hey, would you like to be on the radio? And I'm like, I always wanted to be on the radio. Yes, I would like to be on the radio. And it went, yeah, like it made me sing. And so, yes, I want to do that so badly. That was one thing I always wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist. I became an artist in my 50s, like I started painting for social impact. So you can choose to do anything that you want. It's just, you have to get beyond, that fear that tells you no, and give yourself permission to say, yes, I need to do this. I want to do it. You can go beyond vanilla. I talk about in the book, if there wasn't a Christopher Columbus and there wasn't a Marco Polo, we wouldn't have spaghetti or ice cream or any of the wonderful things that we have today. So why just eat vanilla ice cream when you go to Baskin Robbins, have 31 flavors, right? There's more than vanilla. So live a more than vanilla life.
Yeah, and I love those questions. And a lot of times too, I know for myself, it's sometimes the easiest questions, right? As far as like, am I in the relationship that I want to be? Am I living in the place that I want to be living? Little questions that have big answers.
Yeah, and big implications. Yeah, big shift and big implications. And it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to say, we come into this world alone and we go out alone. We don't owe anybody anything except for ourselves. And sometimes we're here for other people, and sometimes they're here for us. And sometimes they're here for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. We don't know when we're in that relationship, but we do know when it's time to leave that relationship. We know.
Yeah. All right. So you have a new book that just came out last month. So tell us a little bit about the new book that you have.
I'm so excited about this book. It's called I Bared My Chest, 21 Unstoppable Women Get Naked, and they get naked by baring their soul. And I asked them the most intimate, intrusive questions anybody's ever been asked, and they answered these questions. And I go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, share more. The more you share, the more it's going to be beneficial to the reader. And this book ended up being, it's almost 700 pages. It's been recorded. So there's an audiobook. You have like 26 or 7 hours of streaming. It's a hardcover, and it's also an ebook. The women hail from 5 continents, and they are all religions: Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu. They are lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, heterosexual. They are mothers, some not mothers. Like, there's just, everything is represented: Black, white, Indian, everybody is there, and everybody has a voice, and they all answer the questions in a narrative. So it's like a story you get to read, and they answered questions about love, sex, career, finance. What did you learn about finance? Like, what were your blocks for you? What made you, what were the obstacles in your life? What made you unstoppable? What's who are you kind of in this world? And it's a really important book. I think it's a book that's going to change a lot of people's lives. And it's also a book that's linked to a global foundation that I've started because I really want to make sure that freedom is the goal for everybody. So whether I want people to be free to write and speak their truth, and many countries are not allowed to do that. I want them to be able to be free to dress as they want, to wear their hair as they like, to be charged other, somebody, if there's a crime against, you as a woman, or rape or whatever, you get to take that person to court. You get to do that, and like every other woman gets to do. So and men too. So it's a book for men, women, and children, but the foundation is about freedom. I want everybody to have freedom the same way that you and I have our freedom.
It sounds like such an interesting book. So of the questions you asked, I'm sure that there were some questions that no matter who answered it, they were kind of the same or in the same vein. And just the opposite of that, I'm sure because of the cultural differences, the experiences people had in their life, I'm sure there were certain questions that were like probably just 180 from each other. So can you share like maybe just 1 or 2 things that were common among everyone?
This idea of freedom is actually a theme that runs through every story. Everybody just wanted to be free to be themselves, regardless of who they were. And that was really, really beautiful to see, that they just want to express themselves as themselves. And, I should say that the authors range from 16 at the time through 60. So that's pretty special too. And even our youngest author, who's such a great girl, she's Pakistani, lives in Australia now. This is her 2nd book, so kudos to her. While she didn't have the same breadth of experience, sexuality, or she did have love, friendship, family. She thought about her career, going to school, all that. So even though all of us some people chose not to talk in certain areas, they talked more in other areas. Some of the differences obviously would be racism for some, and reverse racism. And some people didn't experience it. Some people did experience it. Some people had it in a different way. And those stories, everybody shared pain. Everybody's human. So we all had the human experience. Whether, the pain came from a loss of a relationship, grieving a mother passed away, something like that. We all shared that in common.
Yeah, so the 2 that I got from it is, first of all, freedom. Everybody wants to be able to be who they truly are and have the freedom to wear their hair the way they want, dress the way they want, go where they want, that sort of thing. I totally get that. I mean, even living in the United States, which is probably the most freest country, on the planet, but still, I totally get that. And then the other one being pain, which is really interesting. But I totally get that now that you say it, because 16-year-old might not have as much as a 60-year-old, but we all throughout our life experience pain,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in all aspects of it, and different intensities. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So then you mentioned, as far as some of the differences, like 180s, you talked a little bit about racism. Can you maybe expand on that a little bit?
A few of the authors grew up really, really having a hard time with, they were Black authors, and they had, some of them growing up really hated white people, really hated them. Like, they had this real hate. And I grew up in Canada, and I had never really experienced that kind of feeling, let's say. And yet, as they grew up and as they got more educated and as they learned and met more people, they realized certain things. They realized, well, you can't hate everybody. You can hate a person, but you can't hate everybody. And their experiences changed and mellowed. And so some of these realizations came about, and vice versa. The same is true for other people. What you don't know, oftentimes we're afraid of, and so we choose, that fear is expressed in a different way, right? But mental health, some of them, had mental health, had issues, and some dealt with, which is very painful, obviously. There's one of the authors is dying of cancer, and her experiences are very special, and she's a 6-time human rights award activist. She's won 6 times for the work that she's done in the world, and she has the funniest chapter ever. Yeah.
She's probably
she really laid it out. Yeah, she laid it out.
Yeah, because I mean, I've never been in this situation, fortunately, but that situation where you've been given some news that you have some sort of fatal illness, and you know that your time is limited at that point. And I think, if anything, for some anyway, I would think that would be actually very freeing.
Very liberating.
What the F? I'm just going to go and do whatever, right?
Exactly.
Live out my last days. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the stories that she tells are hilarious. Like, you'll just die laughing. It's so funny what she shares. But it's great. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. So you will cry and you will laugh and you will feel, sad and loved and everything in between, because it's a very emotional up and down in everybody's life. It's their life. It's real life, which is pretty, which is, talk about being a voyeur. You really have an open window into somebody's life.
Yeah. So, what was your inspiration for writing the book, and what do you want people to get out of it?
It's funny. I co-authored the book with a Nigerian actress. We had done a creative summit, and at the end of it, her brand was Naked, my brand's Unstoppable. And we said, we should do something together. And we just came up with this idea, and it took a life of its own. And as it took a life of its own, we just kept expanding. And there were delays, and there were, I thought we were going to pull this thing out in 6 weeks. I thought, we'll have this book published in 6 weeks. A year and a half later, authors came and went, but every time somebody left, the book got stronger because we got somebody even better, and then we had a better idea and a more creative idea. And so things just expanded. Like I told you about, doing the audiobook and doing the book, having every author speak their own story in their own voice and not having an actor do it. And people go, oh, you can't do that. You have to have an actor. You can't do this. Like, I go, I think we can do it. And I think that people will give you a little bit of grace if the audio's not perfect, in a studio, because it's the real person reading their own story. So does it get better than that?
Yeah.
You don't want an automated voice reading your story.
Right.
And so the emotion is there, and the tears are there, and the laughter is there when they're reading, and it's great. It's really, really something. It's very special.
Yeah, it does sound like it. Yeah. All right. So any final words, Frankie, for our audience, especially getting back to the midlife mojo, and maybe your best tips?
Yeah, I really just want to make sure that everybody knows that, fear is really short-lived. And once you take that first step outside of your comfort zone, I haven't met anybody who wish they hadn't. I can tell you that. So you were going, yeah, it's a little scary to get there, but get yourself a coach, get yourself a friend to hold your hand as you do it, and get somebody who understands what it is that you want. Because oftentimes, our friends hold us back because of their own fears. So if you really want to do something, if you want to start your own business, it's never too late to start a new business. It's never too late to go back to school. Because I will say to you, Cindy, in 5 years, if you don't go to school, what are you going to do? What are you going to be? You're going to be the same thing you are today. So why not be something different? You can do that. And I am so happy to help anybody get to where they want to go. And I always say that, I like to hold your dreams in my hand, because I know that you can get there. I just need you to know that you can get there too. Yeah. So that's really, anybody can do it. My dad always, used to say to me, anybody can do it with money. What can you do without? And that really made me really creative. But I just say anybody can do and be anything that they want to be. They just have to think it. And if you can, honestly, Napoleon Hill said it, if you can conceive it, you can achieve it. And there's nothing more true, because if you can envision that in your head, there hasn't been one time in my life where something I thought, I can do this. It was in my head, and I go, I can do this. I know I can. In my heart, I can do this. I've never done it before, but I can do it. And I did it. And I think all of us have that capability to do that. And so I really want you to know, don't be held back by fear. Don't be held back by anything. Just do it. And the Chinese have 2 characters for change. And it's opportunity and danger. Wow. Danger is you come out of your comfort zone, right? But the opportunity, that's where they live. And I have a couple of Frankieisms, and one is opportunities don't pass us by. We pass on them. So if you really want an opportunity, they're coming by all the time. You just got to grab it and take it and make it.
And there's a saying, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but there's not such a thing as luck. It's when you have prepared yourself so much along the way that when that opportunity comes, you nab it.
That's it. And
people think it looks like on the outside, oh, you were so lucky to be successful. Oh, you were so lucky to get this or that. And it was probably years and years of preparation.
Yes.
Sometimes you do that intentionally. And sometimes I think it comes unintentionally.
And the unintentional, you're right. And the unintentional is, you can grab it if you can get past your fear to get it, to take it. Because, you might be sitting there and go, hey, do you want to be in a movie? And you're like, oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. Right? You go, oh, maybe I could. Maybe I'll be discovered. Who knows? Who knows what a magical, wonderful thing could happen for you if you say yes.
And I love the fact that, you're never too old. And I know that sometimes can sound like a cliche, but I was in corporate America for 30 years. And finally, at the age of 55, I just decided, you know what? I need something different.
Yeah.
And so again, was there fear? Absolutely. That was 2.5 years ago. And I still, to this day, there are days when it's like, oh, should I go back? And then I'm like, no. So you have to have that mindset that you can do it, and just go out and be committed to it then.
I'm always reinventing myself. I'm 60 years old. I'm always reinventing. I can't imagine not doing something different 2 years from now. Can't even imagine it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. You have an incredible, fantastic giveaway. And for the first 20 people who email Frankie, and her email address will be on this page, will get a free digital copy of her book, How to Find Your Mojo. So email her.
Please email me. I want to give you my book. I want to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also have your website link on this page as well. So if people want to work with you as a coach, you know, all of the information will be out there. So thanks again for being one of our masters. Great topic and lots of great tips.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
This episode of Ageless Beauty is sponsored by DJ Taz, musician and composer. DJ Taz gives you a high vibrational energy to any room instantly by mixing the beats and rhythms of love, ancient new world, kirtan, devotional, and cosmic sounds. Taz will be giving you a copy of his album, Awakening Truth. This music is great for listening, working, and for new inspiration. For more information about Taz, please visit his website at www.djtazrashid.com.